So I just want to start out by saying that as of yesterday, when everybody hears this episode, it will have been my sister's birthday. So happy birthday to my sister Rebecca.
Happy birthday.
Now I feel really bad. Now I feel like I was like, yeah, I'm a good sibling, shouting out my sister on like, on her, as close to her birthday as this podcast would allow. But now I feel like a shitty sibling because I can't remember how old she is. How old am I? I'm 27, so she'd be 26. Okay, yes, 26.
Well, she's only a year behind you and you can't remember how old she is.
Well, technically we're 14 months apart, and for like a couple of months of the year, I'm like basically 2 years older than her, just because of the way the maths works out. And I mean, I barely remember how old I am. Wait, have I told that story of when I thought I was 22 for 2 years? Have I told that story?
No, you haven't. I haven't heard this one before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, there's not much to it. I thought I was 22 for 2 years. Basically, I woke up on my 24th birthday, and I was like, oh, it's my birthday today. How old am I? Oh, I'm 23. And then something in the back of my brain, it was like something, I don't know, like an apparition or a spirit or something. It kind of felt like that, but not really. But it was like, and it's just something in the back of my mind just went, that doesn't sound right, John. I don't think you're 23 today. And I went, oh crap, because I know I'm bad with maths. I've known that most of my life, so that's fine. So I went, okay. So I sat down. I'm not, no kidding. I sat down with a pen and paper and I figured it out. I was like, okay, how old am I? Well, I know the year I was born and I know what year it is now. So I just got to subtract those two numbers and that'll tell me. And then it said 24, and I went, what the fuck? How have I aged an extra year? What? And then,
so you actually ended up carrying the one this time, Johnny, did you?
Yeah, I carried the one this time, and this time I was able to go, oh, okay, that's how old I actually am. Right, okay. And so, and it was only in that moment that I realized that I thought I was 22 for 2 years. So with that in mind, yeah, like it really shouldn't be no surprise that I can't even remember how old my own siblings are, because I barely remember how old I am. I don't even know how old my parents are, to be honest. I can give you a decade, but that's about it. Because, I mean, for the most part, it doesn't matter. Once, after, like, 20 or 21, it sort of doesn't matter anymore until, like, 25. And then it's like, oh, I can rent a car now. Great. And then 30 is, like, middle age. And then...
Be careful.
Now, okay. Now, I know how you feel, Ricki. I know. But this was a thing I saw on Twitter the other day. I got another friend of mine who's your age. Actually, they're a little older than you. And they were asking that question. They found out that that's middle age, apparently. That's not a me opinion. That's a zeitgeist opinion. You go and take it up with them. They reckon that that's middle age.
Ricki, I gotta ask Ricki a question. Are you going through a midlife crisis just yet?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I could be. Who knows at this point? Like, and that's the thing, like right now, because like we're all stuck inside. I can't do all the midlife crisis shit. Like, I can't go out and find a 19-year-old girlfriend or buy a fucking Porsche or like whatever, because I'm stuck inside. So even if I am having a midlife crisis, my midlife crisis includes fucking quitting smoking, working out more, and still having to go to work every day on public transport. That is my midlife crisis.
Oh, God.
And playing Twitch or playing video games on Twitch. That's it. Like, that's the most boring midlife crisis ever. So if I do get out of this on the other side of this, all this shit, then if it is indeed the time for my midlife crisis, I'm going to go twice as hard as everybody else.
You've also got to add in as well that you need to do all the European countries as well. You got to do like, you got to ski to Swiss Alps, and you got to do like the Belgian tours and the Dutch tour and everything. Like, you just got to go to Europe in general, because apparently everyone who goes to like a midlife crisis just randomly books it for like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, you got to go to Europe and find yourself a nice little local who doesn't see age as a number, who sees age as more of a list of experiences you've had in your life.
Yeah.
You chat with them for 2 months in a chateau somewhere, and then you come home back to reality. But I can't do that because I'm stuck inside.
Okay, I was gonna make a joke about like, it's the modern age. You could totally buy a Ferrari on the internet, like, and so I just Googled, can you buy a Ferrari online? And then the rabbit hole got deeper, because the first thing that popped up was, want to buy a Ferrari? It's not as simple as just having the money. So
no, it's not.
It turns out there's a little bit of doing you got to do to buy a Ferrari. It's not
usually you have to be invited personally by Ferrari. There is a list of people that are approved buyers when it comes to expensive sports cars, Ferrari especially. So a run-of-the-mill one, just like a standard off-the-shelf, V8, just roadster, sure, you can probably get one of those at a dealership. But if you want the latest and greatest, like whatever their V12 is, that sort of run, or the new hybrid, it's the dumbest name for a car ever. It's called the La Ferrari, which is just the Ferrari.
Yeah.
So it's the Ferrari. It's the Ferrari. The Ferrari. Really weird, but it's their first ever hypercar that's a hybrid. So it's got an electric motor and a twin turbo V8. And essentially what that does is it eliminates all the lag between you putting your foot to the floor and what would in the old days be a cable that would go to your throttle body, which now is, it's electric, but there is still that bit of electrical lag there between your foot and the actual motor. What that electric motor does, it eliminates all that lag. And so you can burn off the line at ridiculous speeds.
Yeah.
So, and like Porsche released one recently, and McLaren released one as well. And they're basically the same sort of three cars, all these hybrids, as they like to put them, but essentially they are hypercars with an electric motor shoved in there that can operate the car by itself, but you never run at that. But all the electric motor does is boost the petrol motor to be this insane, and Top Gear and all those guys have reviewed them when they came out, and they all said that they are the most terrifying yet exciting cars they've ever driven, because all of that mechanical, old school combustion engine lag or dips in performance that you would get between gear changes, even those microseconds, the electric motor just fills in those gaps. And they are apparently terrifying to drive at top pace, but some of the most fun they've ever driven at cars ever. But yeah, if you want that Ferrari or even that McLaren or whatever, you need to be have already bought 3 of the previous Ferraris from Ferrari, be on their good list, and then depending on how many cars are available, be in the top tier of that good list to get the invite to buy the new one. It's a very exclusive thing, getting Ferraris.
Bloody hell, it's like a quest line in and of it. It's like it's like a World of Warcraft quest in real life.
Yeah,
Bloody hell.
Or it's even like going to a nightclub and not being let in because, you're not part of the exclusives, and you've been waiting outside for 4 hours, and then they're about to say to you as you're about to go in, "Oh, no, sorry, mates, we're about to close, or we're shutting up shop, or they have last drinks in there."
But the thing is, you can also be on the shit list with them too. So you can be on the list, but you can be on the shit list. So this happened, it wasn't Ferrari, it was Ford. And this actually happened to John Cena. They re-released the GT40, that iconic, if you think of a Ford supercar, it's that really sleek, low-slung thing with the huge wheel arches, that Ford. They released it in the 70s. It was the one that was supposed to beat Ferrari at Le Mans.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
wasn't a Shelby,
movie.
Was it?
No. That was a different Ford. This was the GT40.
Oh,
the Shelby is the Shelby is an even souped up more version of that. But this was just the straight up GT40.
Right, yeah.
They re-released it a few years ago, and John Cena is a massive car collector. He was on Ford's good list because he'd bought a bunch of Fords in the past. And they said, "Do you want to buy the new GT40?" He was like, "Yep, sure." Cut to, I think it was a year, not even a year later. And he was either trying to sell it or he sold it. And what happened was, part of his contract that he signed with Ford, and this I would assume would be the same sort of stuff for Ferraris, you're not allowed to sell them until a certain amount of time has passed. So maybe it's 18 months, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, because there's still an exclusivity period where they only want the people they let buy the car still have the car.
Yeah.
So now Cena is on Ford's shit list. So whenever they release a car, and they actually sued him. I think they settled out of court, and he eventually either took the car back or gave the car back to Ford for them to give to someone else. I can't remember the exact, how it worked out. But he's now on their shit list. So if Ford release a new supercar in the future, guess who's not getting a phone call?
Yeah.
John Cena.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the same stuff that happens with Ferrari and Lamborghini and all this. Like, if you like breach a part of the contract that allows you to be the first to buy the car, you're on the shit list. And once you're on the shit list, it's real hard to get off the shit list.
Yeah. This article specifically says that. It says, if you're lucky enough to get one, don't be tempted to try and pawn it off soon to make a quick buck. Ferrari has been known in the past to immediately blacklist anybody it suspects of trying to make a profit off of its cars. And anybody caught will never get anywhere near a new Ferrari ever again. So, yeah. And Aston Martin apparently does the same thing. And, you know, I mean, they make the James Bond car, so, you know, that makes sense. But, like, geez, Lou, I was just, I mean, God almighty, I was not expecting to go down this absolute bloody rabbit hole just to make a ha-ha, you're getting old by a Ferrari midlife crisis joke. But there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of why, like, Porsche are the go-to midlife crisis car, because they're top end.
Okay, let's Google that. Can you buy a Porsche online?
Yeah, you can buy, like, just a regular 911, not an issue. But if you want to go, like, the GT3 or anything sort of in that echelon, super hard to get a hold of. But just a regular Porsche, just like the standard one you see driving around the streets, you can buy them at a dealership. You can buy them used. You can buy them off people. Not a problem.
I will say, Rick, stuff for sure. Make sure that when you do decide to buy like a Porsche or something like that, don't profit off it, because you might make their shit eventually.
Oh, I wouldn't mind making Porsches. Like, we're talking about this, and I have like, I don't have a car at all, and B, I'm not getting a Porsche anytime soon. Like, I've been trying to buy a car during lockdown. It's just because, like, I'm still working and I don't want to be on public transport, and my round trip every day is 3 hours, and it sucks. And I've been trying to avoid that, so I've been looking at getting a car. I wanted to get, like, just a very small loan from the bank, like $8,000. That's all I wanted, and I got knocked back. And I'm hopefully assuming that this is just because they're tightening their belt because of lockdown and they're losing money and they don't want to risk someone getting a loan and then not paying it back or whatever. But, like, I've been doing everything I can to try and get a car. And then the week of us being now locked specifically to the CBD of Melbourne, or the CBD and surrounds, I managed to sort out a car all the way up in Echuca at my dad's place, my parents' place, and I couldn't leave the city to go get it, and nor could he leave Echuca and come into the CBD to drop it off.
What's the car?
It's just it's my dad's old, like, knock around car. Him and mum bought a new one because they're going on a trip around Australia next year. So they needed a new 4-wheel drive. So dad bought the 4-wheel drive, messaged me. He's like, "Oh, I got the 4-wheel drive. So the old Falcon is up for grabs. Do you want it?" I'm like, "Hell yeah." And then realized that I couldn't leave the city to go and pick it up. So I'm still stuck on public transport. I have a car, but I can't go get it.
That's sad face. Massive sad face.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, and today, as of this recording, I looked on Twitter and lockdown has been, the state of emergency has been extended for 4 weeks. So,
Fun times.
I'm not getting that car anytime soon, am I?
No. I think you're going to be dealing with 3-hour trips for a while. But I just looked that up. Can you buy a Porsche online? Yeah. First search result that comes up. You might soon be able to buy a new Porsche online. So you can't right now, but they've started a pilot program. In fact, you couldn't even now, because they've started a pilot program in the US and Germany. Germans like their Porsches to allow prospective buyers to view and purchase new used cars online from individual dealerships. So basically, it'd be like you could go to, like, you know, berlinporsche.com.de or just .de. I don't know. What's there? It's .de, but do they do .com.de, like .com.au, or do they just do .de? I don't know. Anyway,
.de.
I think it's just .de. Yeah, and you could go there and buy a Porsche. So you might be able to buy a Porsche online eventually, but you can't right now. And with that, welcome to Pint Party, a podcast designed to turn a beer and chat into a tax write-off. I'm your host, John McLeish, and joining me this week is a rather interesting combination. I don't think it's a combination we've had before. Ricki Needs and Michael Thompson. Boys, welcome.
Hey,
hello. I feel like for me, it's like every time I do, like, I've got like a contractual obligation with Hard Effect where I appear on like once every 12 to 14 episodes of Pine Party, because I think the last episode I was on was episode 50.
Yeah, it has been a while. I'd have to double check. I'd have to go back into the archives and double check, but it has been a hot minute. Right. Okay. But remember when I said it was like buying a Ferrari is like a World of Warcraft quest? Well, Wired's got the hookup with the article, How to Earn the Right to Buy Ferrari's Most Exclusive Car, which is the La Ferrari thing. So even for real life quests, there's a game guide for it. So there you go.
The more you know, right?
Yeah. Do you reckon? My question for about the La Ferrari is though, was this something they were thinking about doing eventually? It was just sort of like the engineering wasn't really there yet, or do you think this is a direct response to the Tesla Roadster? Which people have done this. They have you can like a Tesla Roadster will outdrag any Ferrari out there right now.
Yeah. It's a bit of both. So a lot of like supercar, the hypercar level cars have been doing stuff with electronics in the past, whether it's, changing a throttle body from a literal wire that is hooked up to your accelerator that runs into the engine bay, up to your throttle body and opens it and closes it depending on how hard your foot's pressed down, to now drive-by-wire systems where it's literally just however far your foot is down, tells a computer to open the throttle body, and allegedly that's quicker than just having a wire. Like, it's incremental changes like that have been, taking place inside cars for the last 30 years. But with the introduction of affordable consumer level electronic cars with like Tesla coming out, it has made them change their tune, because it does feel like we are going to move away from combustion engines. I reckon in the next 20 years, there's going to be no more combustion engines at all, based on how easy and cheap it's going to be to start manufacturing electric engines, and just our lack of petroleum stores worldwide. It is dwindling. We can't do much about that. So we're going to have to move away from it. But like the fact that it was just prohibitive to create electric engines because you couldn't, the actual engine is fine. It's the battery systems that were the problem.
Yeah.
It's having a system where you can have enough batteries to get you the length that a gas tank would get you.
I
But
still
now
want to
that's
add that as well to Rick's idea, and that potentially there might be cars on the road. I actually had a conversation with a couple of people that maybe we'll be seeing the end of, because a lot more people are driving automatic and electric cars these days.
I got like half of that sentence. The Australian internet ate your sentence, bro. Do you want to say that one again?
You cut out a bit.
I spoke to a few people a couple of days ago as of this recording, and they said potentially being the end of manual as we know it, and it potentially might be getting towards more auto only, as well as what Ricki said, with more like electronic cars.
So no more manual transmissions at all. Sad day.
No, that makes sense though.
Cars left on in the next 5 to 10 years, like, it might just be automatic or electronic.
Actually, yeah. I've got a really quick bone to pick with Woolworths right now.
Oh, okay.
I went to Woolies to do my shop for the week, or the half week, or whatever.
As you do.
And it was like one of those shops. It was definitely going to be more than a basket, but I didn't need one of those like the full size trolley. So I just need like that little half size trolley.
Yep.
And I go up to Woolies, and I only need a shop like that once every now and then when I'm like really low on like essentials plus the stuff that's like perishable.
Yep.
So, and it's not been a problem for me to grab one of those trolleys for a while. I go to Woolies, and they've put the coin things back on, like the chains. They'd taken them off for ages.
Yeah.
And they'd put them back on. And my first thought was, I have not touched a piece of actual money for the entirety of this pandemic. Like, the minute I finished work at the casino on the last day and picked up my tips, I have not touched any plastic or metal money for this entire time.
Oh shit!
And that's a good thing. Yeah, and that's a good thing, because is let's face it, filthy as shit. But the fact that like Woolies, and like it could have just been the fact that I got lucky the few times I needed a trolley and they just weren't like hooked up for whatever reason. But if they have gone back to hooking them all up, do they really want people putting their dirty money in and out of the goddamn coin slot on these things all day, every day? Because that just to me feels like needless germ transfer. Whereas if you just like, give us the trolleys, we will bring them back. We don't want your goddamn trolley Safeway or Woolies or whoever. Just take the chains off and let us pull them out and it's a lot easier just to clean the bar than it would be to clean the whole like coin dispensal chain mechanism every single time someone puts a dirty bloody dollar coin in there.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Just-
That's so weird.
It's really weird. I want to back before we go back to the thing. I want to digress really quickly. Do you know that Woolies equivalent in New Zealand is called Countdown? I thought I'd just bring that up here in the podcast.
Camp down,
No,
racers, sing their song, doo-dah. Yep, that's so weird. Camp down.
Camp down. Okay. Right.
Countdown was weird.
Anyway,
But I do agree, Ricki. I think it gets to a point now it's right to have the my shop as person like that, you know, like that little like spatula when they stick it in so you don't actually call it in. I know most shopping centers do, but I think now it's getting to that point where it's probably easier and a lot more environmentally friendlier to have environmentally friendly trolleys. No need to actually have there's no need to have actual where you can actually just grab a trolley and go. Trolleys these days are becoming more plastic than metal. Well, that's from the shopping centers I've been once before lockdown.
Okay.
plastic trolleys.
So I think I got most of that. What were you trying to say then?
I caught the gist of it. I also like one of the only words I heard probably was the word spatula, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I got Woolworths, spatula, trolleys, metal, and plastic. But I think the gist of what you were trying to say was that like they're changing out the construction materials of trolleys, and therefore they're becoming less valuable to scrap metal people. So there's no need to like try and put chains on them anymore because they're not worth anything to anybody anymore. Is that what you were saying, Michael?
Plastic trolleys are the way, I think, leading forward and moving forward out of this pandemic.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I live out in the suburbs where, we've been known to nick a trolley from time or two. It's a time-honored tradition among the children around here. I've been known to do it myself from time to time. Actually, no. I literally did it once, and I never did it again because it's the one time in my life I knocked myself out. This is a good story. I should tell this one. So this is going back to when I was a teenager. I would have been 14, I think. And of course, just like every other 14-year-old boy at the time, I was absolutely obsessed with Jackass. And the Dirty Sanchez boys and Tokyo Shock boys, not so much, but I knew they were around and all their kind of gimmicks. And now the Jackass boys at the time, and I by the way, hopefully the story that I tell lets everybody know to not do the thing I did, but like just in case it needs to explicitly be said, for the love of Christ, don't do what I'm about to tell you I did. So one of the things in the television show that they did was they invented a sport called California Bobsledding. And what California Bobsledding is it's just like regular bobsledding where, you get in like a little bobsled type of a thing and you go down a hill, except the hill of ice isn't a hill of ice. It's just any hill that's got, that's paved. And instead of a bobsled, you use a shopping trolley. And so, of course, being an idiot 14-year-old boy and with idiot 14-year-old friends who are also boys, we all thought, heck yeah, let's go and do this. And there was a trolley, we went over to our girlfriend's house and there was a trolley on the street because, people nick trolleys all the time and just leave them around the joint. So it was not hard to get a trolley off the street. We went, righto, let's give this a go. But instead of doing it on the road, we thought, you know what? Let's be safe and not get hit by a car. Let's do this on the footpath, which seemed like a smart idea at the time, but it really isn't because the footpath is made up of two materials. You've got the concrete that makes up the footpath itself, and then dirt, which is the nature strip. And so the little lesson in physics that I learned is that, a little lesson in Newtonian physics for you, an object in motion will remain in motion until acted upon by another force. But that other force doesn't have to be something big. It can be something just as simple and unassuming and out of the way as dirt. So I get in the trolley, down I go, flying down the footpath, and because trolleys, there is absolutely no way to steer a trolley. You're really just kind of like... You're kind of along for the journey. You're not in control of a trolley when you're California bobsledding. You're really just there for the journey. And that journey happened to take me into the nature strip, which then, according to Newtonian physics, acted as the force that brought me to a very sudden stop, and the whole trolley flips forward. I go out, and instead of landing on the nature strip, I land on the concrete, smack my head, and the next thing I remember is waking up about 30 seconds later with my mate and his girlfriend standing over me going, "Are you dead?" So yeah, don't do that. That was a wild ride. I woke up, though, with a big adrenaline rush, and I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, so I was like, yo, that was wild. That was fun. Let's never do that again. And so
I'm not going to lie. Out of all the years I've known you, Johnny, I'm actually surprised that you were a fan of Jackass back in your...
Yeah, just like every other 14-year-old. Yeah, I was a dickhead just like everybody else. Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of the stories that defined my youth. Is sort of like, okay. I mean, it's probably also hands down the dumbest thing I ever did as well. So like I feel like I count myself lucky that like I did that and I was like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever done. And like I knew that at the time too. Like I went home that day and I was like, I just did the dumbest thing I'll probably ever do in my life. You know, like physically the dumbest thing I'll ever do. And I'm glad I got it out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad I got it out of the way when I was young, and you can, you know, kind of bounce back from that. Pun intended. So, you know, yeah, I'm glad I did it. I did the stupid thing. So there you go. Yeah, that was California bobsledding. Don't do it. So yeah, I don't see why you'd also. I feel like nicking trolleys. The other reason why people used to nick them though was for the sheer convenience of it. Because like again, people without cars, it'd be like, oh, I don't want to carry like 8 bags of shopping home, like, you know, wrapped all over myself. So they would just take the trolley home. But then they would go, oh, I can't be bothered taking the trolley back, so they just leave it on the street. I feel like since like Uber became a thing and since ride sharing got really cheap, like people don't do that anymore. So yeah, there's less trolleys about. So even if you're worried about that, Woolworths, like there's no need. So just take the coin operation off, dude. Come on. Yeah. But they've done that out here for ages. There's no coins on them. So I'll have to have a look next time I go shopping, which will be day after tomorrow. So I'll have to see what they've got going on.
Yeah, it was just weird. Well, I've got a quick stealing a trolley out of convenience story if we can stay on this tangent for a little bit longer.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. Let's do it. I love me some stupid stories.
Yeah, so when this would have been between me finishing year 12 and moving out of home, it was the summer after I finished year 12, and my parents were going away on this trip, and it was like the first time they actually asked me and my brother, like, do you want to come with us? Because we're going to Adelaide for like 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. And me and my brothers kind of looked at each other and just went, nah, we're good. I was working, he was working, like we both had like jobs to do, and summer in Echuca is actually really good. Like you got the river, most of our mates had boats or an access to a boat of some sort, and we're like, man, 3 weeks without the folks and they're going to give us a bunch of money to like feed ourselves for 3 weeks. Hell yeah, we're staying at home. And like we both just like worked at our jobs and that and just sort of hung out with our friends. But about a week before our parents were going to come back, we're like, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to have a party while our parents are away. So I was working out at a farm. Yeah, that was summer work. So I was working at a farm. My brother was working like the bakery in town or something like that. And so he was only a year below me at high school, even though he's 2 years younger than me, but he started school early.
Right.
So all of his mates and my mates are all around the same age. So like, right, we'll just get sort of a bunch of your mates and a few of my mates and just sort of have a bit of a drinking session at our place. So get on the piss, and at some point in the night, we just bailed on home and walked down the street. And this is about when my memory starts to get a little bit hazy on the night. And we've gone down the street, and I think the last thing I really remember us doing is we because there's a McDonald's in Echuca that was 24 hours, but it was like closed. You had to go through drive-through. So we all collectively, like, there was a good like 12 of us or something at this point in the night that were left. And we've all like collectively walked through the drive-through and ordered through the drive-through window and shit, like all just standing there. Anyway, that's about the last thing I remember happening. I woke up the next morning and I've like sort of stumbled out of bed, like, the fuck happened? I can't remember shit from last night. And I've like stumbled out into the lounge room. And in the middle of the lounge room, and I'll preface this by saying we live next to the river back home, so we're actually up on stilts. Because we're in a floodplain.
Yep.
Or a flood trough or whatever. in the middle of the lounge room. So like a bunch of my brother's mates had like passed out on the couches in the lounge room. In the middle of the lounge room was a big W trolley, just like full of empty cans and shit. And I don't remember going past Big W at any point during the night. So I've gone to my brother's room. I've woken him up and just like, did you bring a trolley home last night? He goes, I don't think so. I'm like, well, you might want to come and have a look at this. So we've gone out and he's like, oh shit. I think I do remember grabbing that. So apparently we'd gone past Big Dub on the way home, which based on where my house is in Echuca, it's like my place to Macca's makes sense, but going via Big W is a big detour that we did not need to do. But apparently we did, picked up a trolley, walked it home, like lifted it up the stairs onto the balcony and then into the lounge room. And then it's there in the middle of the lounge room the next day. So I was very confused. My brother kind of remembered doing this. I asked a few of his friends that were like still out, like passed out in the lounge room. They were just like, yeah, kind of. We must have brought it home. Anyway, we sort of pack stuff up and everyone goes home. Me and my brother just like, we have this trolley now. What the fuck are we going to do with it? And then we realized that we were like standing in a lounge room and then like looked at the backyard and was like, there are cans and bottles just everywhere. And we were like, all right, well, for now, let's just get all the recycling shit. And like the recycling bin was full. So we put it all in the trolley and then put the trolley in the backyard. And in our minds, we were like, we're going to take care of that in the next 6 days before mum and dad get home. We forgot. We 100% forgot about it. So mum and dad come home 6 days later. We've like cleaned the house. It's like spotless. We've mowed the lawns and shit. And then so mum and dad are sort of like, you know, you've left your 2 teenage sons home for 3 weeks. You're going to have a bit of a cursory look around the place to see what's out of place. And
bloody oath.
That's pretty good. Yep. And then mum goes on the back balcony and she goes, boys. It's like, yeah. She goes, what's this? And we walk out. And like in the corner of the backyard is the fucking Big W trolley full of cans and bottles. And we're just like, oh yeah, we were going to get rid of that.
You did everything right as good sons, except for the trolley.
Except for get rid of the fucking trolley. And I'm pretty sure like even like a couple of years later, like we ended up just using it as like if we had like friends over or just like a session in the backyard, it became like just the dumping ground for all the bottles and cans. So I think it actually lasted like another 2 or 3 years in the backyard before mum and dad were finally like, okay, it's full now. We get rid of it. It's gone. But yeah, so
wait,
we
hold
sold
on.
the trolley.
It took you 3 years to fill. You never emptied it out between sessions?
Oh, I can't remember. It wasn't like we had these huge parties at our place. It was more just like if we had friends over and we're just drinking in the backyard. It wasn't like that was one of the only parties we really had at my house because I lived in town with neighbors, whereas most of my friends and a few of my brother's friends lived on farms. So we would go out there to party because we could be as loud as we want for as long as we want. My place, you had to kind of cut it off at like 10 o'clock because neighbors.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like it lasted a while in the backyard and we'd like fill it up every now and then with just stuff from like if we were drinking in the backyard, didn't want to go inside, just like, put it in the bottle trolley. But yeah, eventually we got rid of it. But yeah, it was just handy to have once we realized that we couldn't get rid of all of the cans and shit that we drank the night before. So yeah.
Smart, I thought.
Yeah.
So
I thought we did a pretty.
So you went with
job.
bottle trolley instead of like. See, my first thought was like, what do you call this trolley? My first thought was the Tinny Trolley.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Because you got the alliteration there and stuff. But that being said, though, I mean, it's a well-known, established fact on this podcast that I'm a fan of alliteration. So yeah, I mean, I would have called it the Tinny Trolley myself. But I like the raw efficiency of bottle trolley. It is the trolley where bottles go. Because I imagine that's what you're doing. For the most part, you're drinking stubbies, not tinnies.
Back then, I was definitely just more of a beer person than anything else. So yeah. Just stubbies.
Just stubbies. Yeah, righto. So, well, there you go. I mean, I feel like it. Like I said, it's a time-honored tradition that everybody, at some point has like got a story of a trolley in use in a situation where it shouldn't be used, a la using a trolley not for its intended purpose, which is walking down the aisles of a supermarket collecting goods. So, yeah.
I mean, there's also the time that we nicked one from the Woolies at Swinburne and took it up to the top level of Uni Lodge.
What is at the top level of Uni Lodge?
where my apartment was when I lived there.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like that's less impressive because I can envision how that works. You put it in the elevator, you ride it up, you're good. But
well, the fact that I lived with an RA, there's security cameras everywhere, and there was signs specifically saying not to bring shit up the elevator from around. Like we ended up with a stop sign, the shopping trolley, 2 extra trolley bars, so the bar just minus the trolley, many traffic cones, and a few extra just like signs without the poles. But like the stop sign was the entire like 10-foot pole plus the sign.
what the fuck?
That was really, really hard to get into the elevator. We had to like do it on a diagonal. And there is a photo of me somewhere that we took like because it had one of those like curved mirrors in the top of the thing to like see.
Yep.
I don't know. It was, for some reason, it was in an elevator. But there's a photo of me with like my early shit camera phone, just like smiling like a dickhead into like the security camera with the stop sign, like somehow diagonally fit into that elevator going up to where I used to live at Uni Lodge. I don't know. Like the fact that we lived with an RA and he like did half this shit with us. So I'm assuming that he was the only thing that stopped us from getting kicked out because he was just like, I'll talk to him. Because like there were security cameras everywhere and they were definitely seeing the dumb shit we would do. Like we would just go out on like Glenferrie Road and get pissed and just bring stuff back to the apartment.
I was gonna say that's like that stop sign gate sounds like a bit like, if you were to try and maneuver a couch upstairs or try and move something from one room to another.
We had to think about like how to get it in the elevator. But the weird thing was, right, it was on the road that goes past like the Woolworths and Macca's heading into where like uni is at Swinburne. It was along it was along there, and it was literally just lying on the ground. Like it was a full stop sign, and it was brand spanking new. And there was a post, like the hole in the ground where they go and then like lock into position had like just been put in. Like it was like fresh concrete around it. So our thought was someone's like just said, fuck it, we'll do it tomorrow and put the sign in. Or someone's like taken it out that night because the fresh poster's there to go in. You've got a brand like no dents, nothing. Like this is a brand spanking new pole and stop sign just lying on the ground next to where it should be going, like just being stuck in. And it was just lying there. And we were like, well, fuck it, we're taking it. But you got to think that like that was someone's job that afternoon and they've gone, fuck it, we'll leave it on the side of the road and I'll come back tomorrow and do it then. Only to come back tomorrow and we've nicked it.
You had one job to put the bloody sign in so that
it's definitely their fault for like not putting it in.
It is their fault. That's what I'm basically saying. I'm basically saying like, we had one instead of those bloody hoodlum teenagers or hoodlum uni students taking that stuff.
That's what leads me to believe that like that job was obviously like the job for the new guy, like whoever the new guy on the team was. That like, and when I say that the new guy, who's still new, but not new enough that they can't be like left alone, right? They're like at that stage in their employment, and obviously the boss has been like, you know what, got a perfect job for you because you're the new guy, but you're not that new. We can leave you alone. Put a stop sign in. You know how to do that. You dig a hole, pour some concrete, you're good to go. And obviously, this is a job he's been given, later on in the day. It's taken him a little bit extra time to do it. It's like
4:30.
No. I reckon it's like 2:30. I reckon that's what I'm saying. I reckon it's like 2:30. He's gotten this job, and he started on it, and he's dug the hole, he's poured the concrete, and then he's looked at his watch and gone, that's knockoff, innit? All right, well, that's just knockoff, and just walked away and not thought through, the sign or anything. He just saw that it was 5 o'clock and went, yep, that's knockoff. All right. And then went up Glenferrie Road and went, I'm going to go and, get a beer. Did not think beyond 5 o'clock, I think is what happened there. And then little Ricki comes along and goes, "Oh, boys, we got a score today."
And that stayed in that room in that apartment until after I left. And then like I came back that following year because a friend of mine still lived in that apartment and the stop sign was still there. And I was just, I was so proud. I was so proud.
So as far as you know, it's just still there. It's
No.
Oh.
We ended up throwing it off something that we shouldn't have threw it off.
Oh God. Oh my. Oh no.
Yeah. Why do you think
no.
there's like nets and stuff near the train tracks behind Uni Lodge? It's to catch all the shit that we would throw off.
Because
Yeah.
you're stupid. That's why.
Because we were 19 and mostly drunk that entire year at uni. Like that's just how it went. We lived on the top floor. The train tracks were right there, and it was a game of who can hit the train.
Every
Oh, no.
time, I was gonna say every time I meet like people who go in for the very first time, I go, if you're 19 and you haven't gone and done a lot of stupid shit and been drunk most of the time, are you really doing uni life properly?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
for sure. Yeah, no, you got to get shit faced and sorry in the morning at least once in your university experience, or you're not doing it right. That's for sure. I mean, because it's a critical part, I say, because like people, it's the thing that really saddens me about kind of the modern education system. The whole system has gotten so screwed up by economics. It's sort of like people now look at university as solely a means to an end. It's like, I must do this to get a job, and that is it. Instead of seeing it as an entire experience of you go to university and you learn stuff to get a job. Sure, you do that. That's a thing you absolutely do. But that's just one part of being at university. There's all the life lessons that you get as well, right? And all the mistakes you can make, and you know, the social, you know, the sort of the whole social side of things, like learning how to, like, you know, function amongst other adults, and how to not function amongst other adults as well, and how to function amongst adults when alcohol's in the equation. Like, these are all things you learn at university as well. It's not just lectures and shoots. It's like going to the pub is just as important. And
Yeah, I exclusively learnt the life lessons and the mistakes. I'd never got the degree. So
yeah. Well, see, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
I went the other way.
You went the other
too
way.
far.
Yeah, exactly. No,
But like the thing is, like those two Uni Lodge buildings at Swinburne, right? So when I moved in there, our apartment especially was like party central, because we had the RA. He didn't give a fuck. He knew everyone on campus as well. So if anyone wanted to have a party, they were just like, hey, can we have it at your place? Because the RA lives here. I'm mates with him. We were just like, yeah, fuck it. So like we had one week where we had 4 parties, and I didn't know a single person whose party it was any of those 4 nights. It was just a convenience of having it at the place where we wouldn't get told off. So our apartment like was party central. I left that res or Uni Lodge the year after, but I still had friends that lived there for like 2 or 3 years after I left. And every year I'd go back for like a Uni Lodge party or something. But each year I knew like they were clamping down harder and harder and harder on them because of that year that we had there. And we got in so much trouble. Like even with having like an RA as a mate, we still got in a lot of strife. And by the end of what would have been my 4 years, which I never actually finished, but I was still talking to friends that were going there, and they were like, it got to the point where Uni Lodge actually banned you bringing in, like, you couldn't even bring a slab home. You had to only bring a 6-pack. Like, because they have like security checkpoints at like, not security checkpoints, but like an office at the base of each of those buildings. And if you were bringing in, you know, shit tons of beers, they were just like, nah, not happening, and send you out. So they got that bad. They almost to the point of like banning alcohol in those buildings because of how raucous we were one year there. And now I think like that, like it's just they just nearly a fucking full on clamp down on like just no alcohol at all, because they're just like fucking sick of dickhead 19-year-olds getting pissed and causing absolute strife for them. So I'm sorry to everyone that had to follow us in there. We set the standard and no one matched us.
Yeah, well, but also, like, I mean, that's a solution that could very easily be solved as well. It's sort of like, you know, young people are going to party pretty much no matter what you tell them to do. Yeah. So, like, why not channel that into something? Why not channel it into somewhere, right? Instead of, because I think I'm positive that the reason why the parties and the reses were happening at all is because there were no other parties going on. and a big part of that is since basically like social clubs and stuff just died before your time, Ricki. It was like 2 decades before, with like all these bloody people jacking up going without union fees, right? All these people being like, union fees? I don't want to pay no union fees, or taxes, rah, rah, rah. And then as a result, the whole social club scene dies, and that was where all the parties were. So if we brought that back, right, and then you create, kind of like funding for it and everything like that, and everybody can get on the beers, as we like to say here in Victoria, you can create a space where people can go and party and get shit-faced and sorry in the morning, and it's not disturbing anybody. It's sort of the modern equivalent of going out to the farm, on a campus, but you got to have a social club for it, and there is a cost associated. I think that's part of the problem, is that we're not creating these spaces.
Yeah, I think the issue even when I was going there was like going to the Hawker was too expensive sometimes, or even you had Cheers and Room, which were terrible places to go. Although honestly, like for all the unis, because I'd had friends at pretty much every campus in Melbourne right out of high school. So I kind of partied at each of the unis at different times and sort of got an idea for the scenes. And like Swinburne had it best, like by far.
Oh, I agree.
We had it best.
Yeah.
Melbourne probably second best because like you're near the city, so you've got plenty of options, and like you're in like the kind of adjacent to Brunswicky, not Toorak Road, Lygon Streety kind of area. So you got options there. Monash in a dry area, just trash straight up. Just because that's like all the Monash kids would come, and Deakin as well. I think we're in a dry area. It's in that like sort of just absolute pit that is like Blackburn, or near Blackburn. There's no pubs there at all.
Right.
Would come in.
I can honestly say, yep, there's no pubs in Blackie because I live in Blackburn.
Yeah, and they would all come into like G-Bung in Hawthorn on a Sunday and party there because that was the only place they could get to. And then even out Latrobe, like there's nothing out at Latrobe at all.
No.
Fucking Bundura, man. So like, and then RMIT is in the city, but no one really lives on campus at RMIT. So like the fact that Swinburne had like the Hawker, Cheers, Nevs, like Nevs was the place to go. I fucking love that joint.
The new pubs are like Beer Deluxe also that popped up in the years preceding.
Yeah.
You first started going to uni there, Rick.
Yeah, like when I first went to Swinney, it was like showing my age here, 2009. But yeah, it was like the Hawker, Cheers, Nevs, Room, and then if you went a bit further up, you had like G-Bung and stuff up on a bit further up Build Road.
Hotel?
Yeah, not that often, but yeah, it was mainly just the Hawker and Nevs and Cheers. But yeah, like that was just like you had that all within like a block radius of where everyone lived on Res or on Unilodge. It was fucking great. And then you had like Macca's and everything. Like you didn't need to leave that like 2-block radius really at all.
No,
like,
no, because it has everything you need. It has got Woolies, so you can get stuff, food, all sort of stuff.
And
there's
like I used to work at the bottle shop on the corner at where Bottle Mart is now, or was it BWS?
Yes,
I used to work there. So I went to school, like everything on the same block, and then could go out and party, or I could just go back to my place, just let everyone that I was friends with know, and they'd all be there in like within 5 minutes with beers in hand. Whereas when I went back in 2013, that just was non-existent. Like just, I could tell just sort of walking in that the whole vibe had changed in those years that I've been gone. And it just wasn't the same. Even like, cause I never lived on like proper res, but there was like almost a competition back in 2009 who could like hold the better party. Was it Unilodge or was it res? And like, so we would have like competing weekends of like, all right, res is holding a party this weekend. Let's see how good it is. All right, cool. All right, we need to match that at Unilodge next weekend and have a better party in our building. And then once again, going back there, it was like, there was just none of that. And like so many more people lived off campus in like housing and shit in Richmond and Hawthorn and that. Because like once they realized if they got 4 of their mates together and found a cheap, shitty place, it was definitely cheaper than living on res. So I don't know, maybe there's just something about that the late 2000s just had in a little, just perfect little sphere. And after that, it was just kind of, it's just gone. That era is just missing now. It's kind of sad.
I was going to say, do you think the reason why they decide to spike up the pricing at Unilodge reason to stop people like you from doing that same shit over and over again? Because
probably.
Nah, I don't think so. I think it's just greed. It's just greed.
Well,
It's just they put up the price as high as the market would bear. That's all it is.
Yeah. And also like when I went to Uni Lodge the first time, this is so specific for a podcast, by the way. This is just Uni Lodge, just put in like just regular res camp, whatever. But when I went there, it was this weird mix of like, yeah, a bunch of international students that couldn't apply for res because they're only going to be there for like a semester or something. And then just people that couldn't get into res. Because Uni Lodge is like a third party company that just has buildings on pretty much I think every campus in Melbourne has an associated Uni Lodge somewhere in the city that they can live at. But a bunch of my mates from high school, all ended up at the Uni Lodge at Swinburne. And because none of us applied for res, we all applied for Uni Lodge because it was a little bit more secure and safe. Like the security there was a bit better and the facilities within each room were a bit nicer as well. So we kind of went that way. But it was it was a decent mix of like international students, but then like just a bunch of students that just couldn't fit on res and they just shoved them in Uni Lodge. When I went back like 5 years later or 4 years later, whatever it was 90 to 95% international students. Because you're right, the prices have been hiked up that high that unless you were an international student with like a scholarship or like some sort of program where your uni back wherever you've come from pays your lodging, or maybe your parents are paying for your lodgings. Like I couldn't have lived there unless my parents were like chipping in for my rent because it was so expensive. Like I lived in a studio apartment the second time back instead of like living with 4 blokes. And it was over $250 a week for a studio. And that did not include internet. Which,
I was going to say, it didn't include internet and like...
No.
And on its own, wasn't it?
No, and I had to pay like, it was like $60. And this is like 2013, right? Which is like, I can understand maybe like 2008, 2009, this kind of plan being in place, but this is 2013, right? You stream HD at that point, like internet is getting more and more omnipresent and being used for more things. It was still like $60 for 10 gig.
Oof. Yeah.
And I would chew through that so quickly.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I had to be super careful with like, cause I was like trying to pay like part of my rent, my parents paying the other part. I did have a job, but it was only like once every weekend I would work. So yeah, it was just fucking terrible. and yeah, like your internet isn't included. And I was like, you had to go on this website and like pay. And then it would take like half an hour to like ping to your IP address that you had internet again. Like it sucked. It sucked so much.
It still sucks. Like I had a friend of mine.
Sure.
I had a friend of mine who lived on res, and because I remember her specifically talking to me about it because she's like, "Oh, you're technology inclined. Can you explain this to me?" And I was like, "Okay." And I looked at it, and basically she just showed me like what was going on. And she lived on res, like not at Uni Lodge, this is on res proper. And oh my god, the internet pricing is fucking predatory as fuck. And I'm like, this is 2018. And it was bullshit. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Like, the prices they're paying, I mean, they really were paying, like, 2007 prices for internet. It was just ridiculous, like, the amount that they were charging. And for the speeds you got, it was bullshit. Honestly, I actually looked at it, and we looked it up online. It was actually going to be cheaper to get her, like, a really high download data 4G SIM card and use that. Yeah. Than to use the res internet. It was just a complete ripoff. Oh my god! Yeah,
it's crazy that the Institute of fucking Technology can't get this shit right.
Oh my god, that was always the running joke at uni. Was like,
yeah.
Fucking, I remember every single time a computer would go fucking sideways, and it used to happen quite often. Everybody just made the joke, "Oh yeah, Institute of Technology." Oh my god.
Oh, remember the escalators in some of the buildings didn't work.
Yes.
Like,
oh my god.
Oh my god.
The technology institute did not pay the electricity bill.
every year when I got my goddamn, like every semester when I got my room numbers for like every goddamn thing, it was like BA. I'm just like, fuck, I'm gonna be taking stairs for the entire semester. Fucking hell. BA and EN were the worst buildings to get stuck in classes, man.
Hell
like, just every single week it was like, all right, these escalators are getting serviced, these ones are getting serviced, the lifts aren't working, go up the fire escape, you fucking plebs. Oh my god, it was so shit.
Yeah, yeah. It used to be that you'd sort out your schedule and you'd look and you'd go, oh, I'm in EN on Tuesday. Oh, I guess Tuesday's leg day then.
Yeah, exactly. Like anytime you're in EN or BA, it's like it's fucking leg day. And then like thank God when like ATC and what was the newest one? I had like a bunch of classes in there.
AMDC?
Yeah.
AMDC, right? Brilliant. Nothing ever fucked up in those buildings for the most part. But they were like way better.
Well, they were way better comparatively speaking. The escalators used to fuck up pretty often, but nowhere near as often as in EN or BA. Yeah. That's some
actually,
I mean, you want to talk about getting hyper specific? I think that's about as hyper specific as you can get. Is talking about specific buildings.
Anyone that's like been to listen to this, that's been to Swinburne, you know exactly what we're talking about. Anyone else has no fucking idea.
Yeah,
what we're on about. But that's okay. I'm sure everyone has their own dumb uni experiences like this, where it was like, or like, okay, the best thing, not the best thing, but like the thing that got me every semester was like, it's day 3 of the new semester, and guess what, everyone? It's fucking fire drills all day, every day. You get halfway through your first lecture in some class, and it's like, dude, everyone outside, fire drill.
I've got a story about that. So when I was the music director of 3 Sub, which is how I know Ricki and Johnny, basically it was me and the president and the vice president at that point in time. It was Labor Day. We were sitting there just chilling in the office doing some work stuff. And then for some reason, some bloody Jaffies decided to set off the fire alarm when they were trying to get out of that big building. So we hear, emergency, evacuate. And it was great because there was actually a show going on inside the studio as well. So we had to tell the guys to put on some music and come outside too. And then we're like, who set up the fire alarm? Some person walked up and said, oh, some fucking Jaffies did it.
Bloody Jaffies, mate.
Oh god.
That's the first time I've ever heard about Jaffies having the cojones to do anything, actually. Most Jaffies I knew were timid folk.
Well, they thought the red button was the door to, push the door to open the door. Because the door.
Right, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay,
yeah,
yes.
So they press the red button instead of the green button to open the door.
Oh, they're a special breed. They're a special breed.
And because it was Labor Day, you had to press the green button to open the doors because the doors wouldn't automatically open because the doors would automatically think, oh, no, there's no one here today because it's a public holiday.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Amazing.
I remember pointing that out to him once, though. I thought, you know what? Because I was kind of getting sick of it. I was in the library, which is like, I mean, has always been, my haunt. I basically lived in the library. And I was in the library, and again, of course, like every second bloody week, there'd be a fire drill, and out you hop. All right, okay. And honestly, it was, I think it was one of those semesters where it was like, I think it was like the second day. They never did it on the first day, but on the second, no, that's not true. They did do it on the first day once. I remember I was in a lecture day 1 of the semester, and we ought to go outside. I remember that. That did happen once. It was day 2, and the fire alarm goes off, and I was like, okay, out we go. All right, we're all standing outside. Cool. Go back inside. Week goes by. 7 days goes by. In the library again. About the same time, same thing happens again. Fire alarm goes off. I'm like, okay, well, all right, fine. And then the fire warden comes down, and and they're all lit in a bit because they get to wear the fancy vests today. Ooh, and so they're all like, all right, people. Yeah, they go mad with the power, I'll tell you. Whoever the fire warden for the library is, they love to go mad with power. Anyway, so they're all like, all right, everybody, out you hop. Come on, get off the computers. Get off, you slack bastards, out the door. And don't take that door. You got to take this door. This is the emergency door that you never knew was here. It's a secret door, but now we're going to tell you about it because now there's a fire. And we're like, okay. But no, she didn't say there was a fire. It was a drill. I was like, okay. And I pointed out to her, I said, we had a fire drill last week, right? Like, how often do you have fire drills? Like, I feel like you're having them too often. And to my face, flat out to my face, the fire warden says to me, we didn't have a fire drill last week. We don't have them that often. In fact, we don't have them often enough. I was like, I know for a fact it was a drill last week because you said it was a drill. And when I went and stood outside, in case, because sometimes they might say it's a drill just to not have people panic, and then you go outside and the building's fucking on fire. Go outside and have a look. No smoke, no flames, no fire trucks even. I mean, the fire station's literally like 30 seconds down the road.
It's essentially on campus.
It's essentially on campus. It really is. We've got an on-campus CFA. There's nobody over there's even noticed that the fire alarm's gone off because that's how much of a test it was. And I was actually worried about it, and I did. I remember I went and spoke to another person. I'm going to go and find another fire warden, and there's always like 6 or 7 of the bastards. Went and talked to another one. I said, listen, I've been here now for about 2.5 years. I feel like I've done a fire drill maybe like more. I've done more fire drills. I did more fire drills last semester than in my entire 13 years of primary and secondary education. Are you not worried at some point it's going to be the boy who cried wolf? Like you're gonna set the fire alarm's going to go off and everybody's going to go, fuck me dead, another drill, fuck this. I'm just going to take my time, getting my shit together. And that's the day the building actually burns to the ground, and you're going to have 500 kids who thought it was all bullshit, stranded underneath. And they just said no. So it's like it's just a thing at Swinburne among whoever makes that decision. They just love to have fire drills. They fucking get off on that shit.
That was always my thought. Like if there was an actual fire during week 1 of a semester, because everyone, unless you were a Jaffe, like everyone that's been there, but for at least more than one semester knows that in that first week, one of your lectures or tutes is going to get interrupted by a fire drill.
Yeah.
And which year is the massive Swinburne fire during the first week of semester going to happen, where everyone just goes, fuck it, not this shit again. And just like you said, half-asses. I'm like waiting for one of those to be like, this is the year we all fucking die.
Mate, it's like the big one in California, the big San Andreas earthquake that's due any moment now. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or when Yosemite, the big super volcano that's under that's going to blow up one of these days.
Yeah, that's right.
Matter of when.
That's right. Yeah, you got Yosemite, you got San Andreas, and you got Swinburne University. One of those 3 is going to be the big critical event. That's a zero-sum game.
The 3 biggest disasters of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And we haven't even seen the Swinburne disaster yet, so that's coming.
That place
Watch
is a
this
disaster.
space, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming. We don't know when, but it's coming.
That's right. But see, now, by the way, just before we wrap up today, you might think we've talked a lot of shit about Swinburne, but like, honest to God, it could be worse. We could be Victoria University. So look,
that's true.
So it could things could be worse.
I loved my time there. I never finished a degree, so they took my money and gave me nothing in return. So they win that one. But I really enjoyed my time there. But like, there's some shit wrong with the place, and we can. Oh yeah. We had to live through it, so we can say it. All right, we can shit on it a little bit.
But
at the end of the day, I fucking enjoyed my time there. But yeah, look, no more fire drills week 1 of school, okay?
Yeah,
no.
just that.
Please stop scaring the Jaffies, for the love of God. You've given me 2 pieces of paper, but yeah, don't scare the Jaffies anymore, because I think the Jaffies are past. Don't want to be the scar Jaffies of the future.
Or at least make it funny. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna scare the Jaffies, I'm all for it, but you've got to lean into the gimmick, right? You got to get the fire wardens in on it and just have them go in and like have them like kind of run out the building and freaking out and shit. You know what I mean? Like you got to really put the fear of God into them, while the rest of us just kind of like giggle and snicker and like.
Actually, what you should do is in ATC 101, the huge amphitheater, the huge theater, right? You have the fire alarm go off, and then you have someone run from like the inner courtyard side, just like straight through that hallway past 101 out onto Bellwood Road, just screaming bloody murder that there's a fire, and then just have everyone in 101, like 300, 400 students just freak the fuck out. That would be epic. Just do that 1 year.
Oh yeah, and with that we'll leave it there. So I want to thank my guests for joining me today, Ricki Needs and Michael Thompson. Boys, thank you.
No worries.
And if you like this episode, please tell 2 friends in 2020. You can find us on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere you like to listen to podcasts. Hit subscribe on any of those platforms. It really helps us out a lot. You can follow us on Instagram at pint.party to get notified of new episodes and memes and all those good gimmicks. You can also follow us on Twitter, if Instagram's not your jam, at Pint Party. and you'll get notified there as well. And if you're looking for, the podcast comes out once a week, but if you're looking for something more, you're looking for more banter throughout the week, I'm streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/Pint Party. Where I'm streaming on Thursdays and Fridays Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, which is also known as I Can't Believe It's Not Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. And on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm streaming Horizon Zero Dawn, which is post-apocalypse Terminator. Is basically the best way I can describe it right now. It's a good game. It's a lot of fun. So I'd say come along and come and watch both. I will say though, it's funny. Even though Horizon's a newer game and Final Fantasy XII is an older one, I'm kind of enjoying Final Fantasy XII more just because I get more opportunities to make funny voices for some of the characters because obviously they don't have dialogue for all of it, so it's just text boxes. But I read out the text boxes and I try and come up with funny voices for everybody. So that's kind of a bit more fun. So if you're into funny voices and banter, come on by on Thursdays and Fridays from 1 p.m. And and we also have a YouTube channel where you can get everything. The Twitch VODs and the podcast and literally everything is all on YouTube. So if you just search Pint Party on YouTube, you'll find us there and you can hit subscribe if you like. And there's honest to God heaps and heaps and heaps of content there for you to go through to your heart's delight. But until next time, this has been Pint Party. Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast is part of the Hartefact Podcast Network. For more of this and our other podcasts, head to hartefactstudios.com.au.